of the resonator. So this is joined by an invar spacer, and there's another rod very similar to this at this end. So what we need to do is inspect these rods first to make sure that they're not cracked, broken, or the end pieces are loose. As you can see, these ones are all fine.
If the end piece comes off, you just use a 2-part epoxy, a little bit, just to stick it back on.
Okay, if you have to repair them, if you have to glue them with epoxy, make sure that you hold them upright, and you want to make sure these are as true as possible. You put a piece of tape around there and hold it in place until the glue sets. Once you've finished with them, just pop them back in again, just wiggle them very slightly, and it will find it seating on that central holding section there. If these rods are okay, then the chances are that the rods in the back section are damaged. So there's 3 corresponding rods in here. To access them, you're going to have to remove this back plate. There's a screw there, side, one underneath, and another one underneath. And you will really have to tease this plate back and pull it down the umbilical. You then have to remove this back plate exactly the same way as you did the front plate.
It's a bit different. You have to take the screw off here because you can't get to the one down here because it's behind a gear.
True.
But the other side's the same.
Yeah. So you would take this off, and then you would extract the rods.
Yep.
Before installing the tube, make sure that the rubber hose is connected properly, with the wire going in this direction, pushed all the way down, and put your finger on the inside of the open end to see if there's some grease in there. If not, put some Apizone grease, just a small amount in there, and then going to the other end. Before installing tube, make sure that the rubber O-ring and the anode block is good quality. You pull it out, clean it, make sure the orifice is clean, put it back in, and then when you install the tube, make sure that the O-ring is still in there. Okay, to remove the tube from the box, undo the cathode leads. You have to remove them completely. Take that off of there. Be careful with your hand on the Brewster window. Not only can you break it, but it's sharp and you'll cut yourself. Okay. Once you've got that far, put your fingers in here and just slide the block of wood backwards like so. When that's done, you can undo the Velcro straps. And then you can remove the anode. Do them both at the same time, where it doesn't stress the tube. Be very careful because these nuts are heavy and you don't want to drop on the glassware. Okay, remove the top block when the tube is ready to come out. It's very important you get a balance on the tube. What you want to do is move the tube backwards very, very carefully, and then pick it up like that. Okay, it's a pretty good balance. Put your hand underneath, and the other hand about halfway through, and then you're ready to put it into the tube. Okay. Before installing the tube, as a good precaution, put some paper around the end of the window, and then tape it in place. When you're pushing the laser through the magnet, you'll protect the delicate Brewster window. And make sure you've got plenty of room so you can move the laser backwards, and very carefully just put the front booster window into the mouth of the magnet. Gradually put it in. Once you've got the anode in, then just press it very gently to the top. So you're pushing up with your right hand, and you're pushing the laser against the top of the magnet, and just gently easing it through. Just keep pressure on the right hand, push it through, and we'll be coming out of the anode end in a second now. Okay. This is the critical part. You have to make sure that you're going to be able to push the saddle through so it doesn't hit like that and jam. You need to lift it up very gently and wiggle it to make sure it gets through, and then just follow through. At this point the Brewster window is coming out of the magnet, and then if you've got very long arms like me, you can just gradually lift it up very gently. Okay. So, and we're going to just ease the anode block into place by pushing it. And what we do here is we lift it very gently and move it forward so it's sitting over the top of the block, and then push it back so you can feel it sitting on the O-ring there. Okay.
So this is a picture of the anode block from the head, and you notice that it has the O-ring in it. And then this is what the bottom of the tube looks like with the step on there. And when you put the tube on the block, turn it up right, turn it all the way over so you can see what it looks like. And the block butts right up against the step. See how
out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
As you're pushing the plasma tube in, try and align the water spout with the rubber hose, and as you're pushing it in, it should sit in there, and then you can just wiggle it to a halfway position. Anode block in place. The idea of the anode block is to squeeze down on the anode of the plasma tube, and it forces the square face of the anode onto the O-ring, and that's what makes the water seal. But it's critical to get the flat spot in the right position, so we're going to screw it down very, very gently, and then when we get to this stage where it's quite tight, take your left hand and grab hold of the bowl of the laser, and you just rotate it backwards and forwards like that while you start tightening up the anode, and that's going to find the flat surface for you. So once it stops moving, just tighten this off and just look at it, visual inspection, to make sure the gap is about the same on either side. If you've done that correctly, your water seal is going to be fine. Now the next stage is to secure the cathode bowl, and you'll see that the cathode is sitting on a little carrier here which can be moved around, and what we're going to do is going to put the screw into the hole of the cathode carrier, which then screws into the carrier that's suspended onto the magnet. And just put that in loosely, put the next one in, the other side. You might have to rotate this to get it to fit. And once you've got them in loosely, you need to look down at this gap here, and with your hand underneath the laser you can see you can move it around roughly in the middle, so the throat of the laser, the plasma tube, is roughly in the center of the magnet throat. When you've got it there, just tighten up the screws underneath. At this point you can tighten the water hose up, and on the glass section it can be reasonably firm, just don't over tighten it. Feel it like a squishy. Now you need to check the water to see if you have any leaks, so you can connect the umbilical water hoses up to the power supply, turn the water on, and you should see the water spiraling through the stem this way. So you look